All right, Greenleaf fans, yes, Jeremy's doing his episode review in a timely manner. I watched the episode of Greenleaf this morning around 6 a.m. Wait, no, actually it was around 9-ish, 8-ish, whatever. I watched it this morning. And God's Justice Season 4, Episode 9. Just like last week, I thoroughly enjoyed this episode. I don't know what the writers did for the past couple weeks, but in terms of the pacing and whatnot, I thought it was well done. Every scene, pretty good. You know me, I got the same complaints. Charity and Carissa are a mess. That's pretty much it. But let me just say, what should I score the episode? I'm not going to give it a 9 out of 10 like last week, because I do feel there were a couple of missteps in the episode. So I know this might seem a bit low to some. I did enjoy the episode though. I'm going to give it a 7.5 out of 10. I know that seems weak compared to the praise I just gave it, but I feel like there were a few missteps that didn't ruin my enjoyment of the episode, but they were missteps that I found to be very, noticeable. So let's just jump into the episode. So Grace is reassuring Clara, who's Corinne's grandmother, about how Harmony and Hope has this great plan to invest millions into the church. And her concerns are, well, just like May was saying, the 50-50, there's always going to be a stalemate. There's always going to be a conversation when it comes to things that have a vote. And that absolutely makes sense. That's a legitimate concern. And where's the room for God? But at the end of it all, hey, she said she'll vote yes. Judy thinks that the vote is in the bag because, Connie is pretty much the only deacon or deaconess that hasn't been met with yet. And, she's just so sure of herself and attractive. May calls Grace, and she's giving her an update on the votes and everything. And Bishop's doing his job. But it's kind of funny, like, I'm assuming it's only been Grace and Judy, possibly Phil as well. But just, that team meeting with each deacon, just explaining, their side and, why they should vote Harmony and Hope. And Bishop is intercepting Connie. So I don't know if Bishop has been meeting with everyone that is, on the deacon board, or if he's only specifically going after Connie. And then we have Phil taunting Grace to resign, basically step down, and I won't say anything about you lying to the police. And you have until Sunday to decide. And honestly, I was going to save this conversation for the end of the episode, but I actually wrote it in all caps in my notes. Consequences. I wanted to give praise to the episode for consequences, because if if loving you is wrong, or the haves and the have-nots. If, one character lied to the police, which various characters have, that would have been stretched out for 2 or 3 seasons. But Grace lied a couple weeks ago, and now the consequences of her actions are popping up a couple of weeks later. So I do appreciate that something that was done, that's frowned upon by law, is being brought to the forefront, playing a key role in the plot not too long after it. So I give the episode points for that, despite it having a 7.5. Then Jacob and Carissa are, just talking. Jacob's going over to Dante's. What's it like, a sports bar or something, or arcade? Basically, it's some kind of business, and they're having a grand opening. And Carissa still going on about the house, who's going to take it, when the Bishop and May pass on, and he's happy living there, she's not, but he's like, hey, you know what, I'll pray for you. You talk to my mom yourself about it, because I'm not. Fernando calls, she declines it. Then we have Bishop and Connie talking, and basically he brings up the he had the numbers, the dates and everything. Basically blackmails her about the bribe she took from H&H. And man, oh man. And I think even May was telling Grace over the phone, like, basically she restricted Bishop to not say anything about the blackmail. Then we have Corinne and Judy, who's asking again for a copy of the church bylaws. And yes, Judy's like that micromanaging person at the job, like the person who is your supervisor, who rarely comes away from her desk or office, only when she wants to nitpick or something like that. Still think she's attractive though. Then we have Carissa asking about the house. May confirms that she was the one that emptied the safe, so it's a good thing I did that video when I did. But then again, I never questioned that May was the one that did it. And basically she confirms what, Carissa already thought. The house is going to be split equally amongst Charity, Grace, and Jacob. Then we have Grace confronting Charity about the evidence about lying. And we're talking about a church show, so I'm going to watch my language. But basically, lies to her face about not having anything to do with it. I can't wait for this stuff to blow up in Charity's face. I don't even want to talk about this scene because I get angry just like, how are you going to do your sister like that, man? I mean, yeah, Grace technically did bring this on herself, but at the same time, you just fan the flames in an unnecessary fashion. So in any case, Judy and Phil are talking briefly about, basically Judy just trying to instigate. Wait, do people even say that anymore? I can't remember the last time I heard that word. But basically, she's trying to probe for information, just saying, are you really interested in Charity? Or is it just like what me and you had or whatever? Basically, I think Phil struck a nerve when he brought up Ken because they're getting a divorce soon. And she pulls is it because she's black? And I'm like, is she really doing this? I mean, Judy's like 2 emotional episodes away from having her own episode on Snap. I mean, still think she's attractive though. But in any case, she wants to set up a dinner with Charity and Phil, and basically she kind of dangles information in front of Phil's face about, you're doing all this because you want to knock Grace off the head pastor position, but how are you so sure that, my father's going to put you in that position? Dun, dun, dun. Like, literally, that was legit. I love that scene. Then we have Jacob and Dante talking, which is a great scene, bouncing back from the last episode where Jacob kind of wanted to use Dante to get on Carissa's good graces, but he's still kind of thinking about Nikki, but he's moved on without mentioning the name, and we know it's Sophia. And he actually already has a check lined up and signed to give to the school that Carissa school. And basically to help them both win is like, hey, I was in my feelings, you were in yours. This should get you back in good graces with your wife, and at the same time get me off of the bench. So can we set up a press conference or something like that? So that's good. That'll work out. Then we have Phil and Charity talking about the dinner, and that's going to be happening soon. Grace and Sophia, and this was a good Sophia scene, especially after last week where it was kind of like, I wonder what they're doing for character. Still no word on AJ. She leaves a very emotional voicemail about how she hasn't done anything, and because their mom lied to protect him, I'll lose my mother if you don't, tell the truth. So I did love that scene. And then the fact that she's like, look, I was there for 3 weeks out of a 6-week program. I'll just go back to school in the fall like a normal student. Grace doesn't want her to do that. And then she's like, if I'm not here for you now, then what will I stay for? Correct me if I'm wrong, but this is one of the few, if only, scenes this season between Sophia and Grace where it was all love. It wasn't Sophia being, oh, you're a hypocrite. You're just like them. I can't stay here. You lie. You need to be there for AJ. We finally get a mother-daughter scene like this. And definitely one of the highlights of the episode. Kudos to Sophia. And we actually have another badass Sophia scene later. Oh, I'm sorry. I was going to watch my language talking Greenleaf. I apologize. But I was feeling it now. That was a good scene. Then we have Bishop and May talking. And May flips out because Bishop said that I had to drop the ball on the blackmail. May wasn't having it. She's going to her prayer closet again, and I'll see you in the morning. So Bishop's upset because he's trying to get the church back for May, but he did kind of push things a little too far, but he didn't have a choice, or did he? So then we go to Grace and Carissa. It looks like Carissa's trying to, why don't you buy out? What was it like? Hey, her. She wants to kind of pull out of the house in terms of, is there any way you could just buy us out and we can get our own house? And Grace is speaking for the audience like, I feel like this is a bit too sudden. Are you sure you want to do this? And then Chris is like, yeah, I know your mother. I can't deal with it. And apparently like her part or their part in the house is like $1 million. And it's like, hey, you know what? We'll settle for $500,000 or heck, anything above $250,000. So, yeah, it looks like that's what happens. Connie meets with Judy and Phil, and basically it's about the blackmail because James or Bishop knows about it. And in order to kind of leave the blackmail in the dust, you know, like keep it covered, the church, the deacon board, needs to have majority, so it will be a 60-40 vote instead of 50-50. And that's how it has to go. So Judy fires Carden because she figures out that, you know, she's the only one that was able to give the information to Bishop. And I'm thinking, like, was that a good move? Because Carden, I think, like, she probably has enough dirt to bring down just about everybody in that church. So, yeah, let's see how well that firing's going to go. But then we have her confronting Grace as well about the blackmail, but Grace honestly doesn't know about it. And then Judy just tries to brush it off. It's like, well, how do you burst into her office and like a darn, you know, soccer mom going off at a manager at a Target, and then you just kind of nonchalantly leave the room? So I don't know what that's going to lead to. But then we have Jacob and Carissa talking, and apparently there's some good news. He comes home and she has the candles lit and everything, and they have sex. I'm like, man, you don't even know, Jacob. You don't even know. In regards to Fernando, I'm just like, she might end up pregnant. I don't know. A lot of people are pointing that out. Like, Carissa might end up being pregnant and then you know, put it on Jacob, but it's not his baby. Billie Jean is not my lover. Then we have Nikki being pissed off about not being invited to Dante's grand opening, but Sophia, man, she had some she spit some fire during that scene. She just, like, you know, responded to everything like, why did you think you would still be invited after what happened? I'm the one that gave him all the ideas and designed the place and this and that. And Sophia, you know, because she dipped out. She knew where she was going to that event that Zora and Nikki weren't going to. But then as soon as Sophia leaves, they decide to actually, you know, show up late on purpose. So yeah, then we have Judy causing tension at the dinner, basically hinting at the fact that her and Phil used to be a thing. And I mean, to be honest, I was surprised that Charity didn't just take Judy's face and throw it on that grill. So yeah, that was pretty interesting. But to kind of bounce back from that, he gave her a key to his apartment. Come by anytime you like. You'll see some things like a photo of you on the fridge a day after we met, a page about you in my prayer journal, and this and that. And I'm like, laying it on a bit too thick. You know, I ain't even mad at Phil. I'm more mad at Charity for falling for this crap. And yeah, I know she's been through a lot, but it just seems just way too stupid. But I don't know. It's whatever. So then we have May telling Grace not to step down. And this is where May, I'm kind of iffy on it, because she's telling Grace not to step down, but tells her to tell it all, because and honestly, she does make a good point. What mother in the pews hasn't lied in order to cover up a family member, specifically a child's mistake? That's completely understandable. But basically, at the core of it, Bishop says do what's best for your son, while May says do what's best for your soul. So May is kind of, well, she isn't kind of, but she's basically willing to throw AJ under the bus in order to get the church back. I can see both sides of this. And then the fact that Grace still says that he might be innocent, it's like, wait, what? Sophia literally told you that she found the meds in his bag. He did it. So it looks like Grace is still a bit blinded by guilt as opposed to reason. So, I mean, yeah, May is looking at things from reason, but at the same time, she is... we talk about Carissa being greedy and Charity being greedy in order to, you know, throw people under the bus to get what they want, whether it be a house or the AP position. But May isn't above doing the same thing as well to get her own goals. She might not call it... she calls it as she sees it for other people, but she doesn't do the same for her own stuff. Like, I thought Lady May had great development when it came to revealing why she was blinded to Mac's activity. But here we go again with her just throwing, well, family members under the bus, where again I can kind of see it's like, look, we've been working too hard to get this church back, then this grandson of mine pops up out of nowhere, causes trouble, and then it might cause us to lose everything. But it goes back to what I said in either, was it my trailer breakdown or was it earlier in this video? Like, Lady May has kind of been on the sidelines this season, pretty much, you know, calling the plays. Yeah, literally she's been calling Corinne. What, Corinne's been her like mole getting intel. Then she's been pulling strings from behind the scenes, telling people what to say and what to do, and being the one to say, hey, we're not going to blackmail and things like that. We're going to do things differently. And it looks like that tortoise might win the race based off the preview for next week with Bob's offer. So then we have Nikki and Zora showing up, and there's like a spat between her and Sophia. And if I'm not mistaken, wasn't it Zora and Nikki who got taken out by security? And man, that was crazy. Yeah, so Fernando calls Carissa about the house. So like, I have some interesting intel, because she's like, don't call anymore. But we see in the preview, she actually will go over for information there. Phil and Judy briefly talk, and this is another like down part of the episode. Judy's like, keep that Greenleaf happy. And it's like, okay, first of all, you're the one who proposed this dinner and purposely made things awkward. But then you found out later that night, after reading the church bylaws, that what was it? The longest serving Greenleaf gets a tiebreaker vote, or is able to vote to cause a tie, or whatever the situation was. So basically, my question to this is, and it is one of the reasons why the episode got 7.5. So if Judy made things so bad that Phil wasn't able to, you know, recover the fumble from Charity, then what would she have done if she found out after the dinner and reading the bylaws that, oh my gosh, the longest serving Greenleaf, who happens to be Charity, could actually serve in our favor when it comes to these voting disputes. So even if it is a 60-40 arrangement with Charity on our side, we can actually cause a tie or break a tie. So we can actually be in the winning section here. So you pretty much almost created self-sabotage, which was pretty damn dumb. Then we have Charity singing, and AJ comes in, and Grace resigns, and that's the cliffhanger. But going back real quick to Sophia, I think her and Zora had a scene before, what was like breakfast before they went to service, and then Zora's on about, man, it's not right for you to, you know, this is why you don't have any friends. You can't be messing around with somebody's ex and whatnot and try to be their friend. And I'm like, first of all, Zora, it seems, didn't you just meet Nikki like, what, a month ago or something like that? And you're willing to throw away your friendship relationship with your cousin Sophia, who you've known for most of, if not your entire life? And not to mention, what kind of friend is Nikki anyway? I mean, what was it a couple episodes ago where she's ranting and raving about Dante being stupid and not taking her advice and this and that, while you're literally reading scripture in order to help out your aunt who's going through a lot, and Nikki to your face like belittled and mocked your religion, then stormed out, and then after that comes to your doorstep trying to apologize when she was really just looking for a place to stay because Dante kicked her out. What kind of friend is that? I mean, it just goes to the whole thing about not everyone's your friend. And yeah, it would have been different if, let's say, those three were friends, Sophia, Zora, and Nikki. Like, they were pretty much, you know, decent friends. I don't want to say great or good friends, but they were pretty much friends. And Sophia knew ahead of time about the whole Dante thing, and then just swooping in on Dante after the fact and then breaking up. Yeah, she would definitely be in the wrong, but Sophia don't know Nikki, so it's whatever. I mean, so Zora, man, come on, just whatever, I don't care. And I get it, like, it's like, well, it's a good thing you're going back to school. Oh no, I'm staying. And I'm like, go ahead, Sophia, go ahead. But yeah, like I said, 7.5, solid episode though. There are good parts and kind of meh parts as well. But it seems that a lot of things are going on. I think the biggest thing for me is the fact that Phil and Charity are going to be in for a rude awakening. Like, Charity doing what she can to sabotage her sister. She ain't getting the AP position. Phil thinking he's going to get the head pastoral role when Grace falls, but Judy knows otherwise. And then in the preview, it looks like Bob's going to be asking May to take over. Not just because, you know, because what is it? Grace bows out. That ruins his plans, so he's just going to convert Calvary to Harmony and Hope. But in order to bring the black congregation in, he's going to need May. So if that turns out to be the case, Phil ain't getting nothing. Charity ain't getting what Phil promised. And now Phil, like a fool, is proposing. So that's going to lead to some very interesting drama in the future. But overall, reviewing Greenleaf has been a blast. I'm sad to say the next week is the last episode of 2019, but it's been a fun run to say the least. I mean, all I can say is it looks like they're going to close out 2019 with one heck of a fun finale / cliffhanger, like the proposal, Bob's offer. maybe we're going to see in the next episode Grace explaining who AJ is and why she's resigning and things like that. So it looks like we have a lot of things to look forward to next week. I've already recorded my episode preview for next week's episode, Gratitude. So let's see how that plays out. So once again, guys, thanks so much for tuning in. Make sure, if you haven't done so already, to hit that subscribe button, hit the thumbs up button to help this video get more traction, and comment what your thoughts on the episode was. What do you score it? Like I said, 7.5 out of 10. Good episode, but there were some things like, you know, the whole Judy and the bylaw thing, May throwing AJ under the bus, the Zora taking up for Nikki, and, you know, just things like that. So, and of course, you know, Carissa being Carissa and Charity just being a mess. So stay tuned for I'm going to have a pretty lengthy discussion video where I'm going to talk about May with Bob's offer. I'm going to throw in Phil's proposal. I think I want to just do one big video. That'll be the easiest way to do it.